What's up, UTA audience? I'm Shawnice. I'm the music director here at UTA Radio, and today we have a very special guest with us, Will Joseph Cook. Hi,
Hey,
Will.
what's up? Nice to meet you both. How's it going?
Yeah, thanks for taking the time out to talk to us and UTA Radio. So you are set to go on tour April 2nd, correct?
Yeah, we're kicking the tour off actually with one. The first show is actually in Mexico, and then we're hopping over to Texas to play a couple of shows. So the
Yeah.
American tour starts in Texas, which is cool.
So are you is it going to be your first time going to Mexico?
This will actually be my third time. So the last album that I made, I recorded out there through a kind of weird chain of events, and I played a festival there before. But the vibes are great. I don't know if you've been to Mexico before, but it's beautiful and it's the crowds are sick as well.
Yeah, I bet it's going to be a good change of weather right now because you're in the UK, correct?
Yeah, it's like just starting to be not unbearable here, but yeah, I feel like I'm like emerging out of hibernation, so I'm glad to be leaving.
Oh, that's good. That's good. And with all the buzz surrounding your new album, that's what you're going on tour for, every single thing. I just wanted to ask, what was the significance of that album title?
So it's lifted from the one of the first tracks in it called Lil Miss. Um, and it's basically a love album. So it's about kind of all the different like perspectives on love or romance, whatever that I've had throughout my throughout my not so long life at the moment. And yeah, every single thing, I don't know, it just summed up the kind of what it meant to love someone, you know. It's like accepting every part of them. That was the It's a simple message, but a cute one.
Yeah. And what's crazy is you actually had two of your songs blow up on TikTok, Little Miss, and you had Be Around Me.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, so that's pretty cool. So with all of that buzz, like how are you feeling with all, it was like popularity in, a quick second.
Yeah, I mean it's a strange thing. I think any artist that's had a song go viral, not just on TikTok, but in any means, it's like it's usually completely out of control and you're just along for the ride. And it can be, I mean, overall, like holistically, it was like a very cool, positive thing. And it's the thing that allowed me to come to the US and do a support tour at the end of last year. It's what allowed me to go to Mexico. So it kind of reached this whole global audience, but then you do also have to watch your song get kind of butchered by like whatever memes people want to make with it, or you're more open to like haters and stuff like that. But it's a fickle friend, but it's an overall an exciting process.
Well, are you okay with that, Will? I mean, are you okay with the way TikTok sometimes leads to music discovery for some people or how they handle your songs?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, that to me that was what like made, I think music is like inseparable from TikTok success. It seems like in many ways when it came through in 2020, it was like the answer to a lot of prayers. Some people were very adverse to it, but I was like, this is so much more uh dynamic than trying to promote stuff on other social media, because it's like it's kind of all about the audio, it's like
Mhm.
trending audio is what makes TikTok. But it's strange seeing it, they as of late have kind of moved away from that, and I think it's changed a lot as a space for musicians. So I don't think we're going to see the same, like the success I had on Be Around Me. I don't know if that happens as much for indie artists now in the same way. It's kind of morphed into something else. But yeah,
Yeah, I love how you just brought that up because it is different from like 2020, 2021, and like even kind of I'd say summer of 2022.
sure.
It is different for artists because it's more of a like it's not as much as audio, it's more of like the visual effect too. So I definitely understand when you come with that.
Yeah, I think it's the kind of mainstreamification, I guess, of it, in terms of like it has all age people on it now and all types of creators and businesses. And then, without being too like pessimistic, I'm always pretty apprehensive of when like apps start to corporatize too heavily. There's like a period where they are like they want people like me and the musicians and whatever to come on, make the cool stuff and do the thing. And then I think then they got to make some money. And then I think that can change the culture. So I'm hoping it pulls through and this works out, but it is definitely changing mad quick.
Well, bringing it back to the touring, since you have been, your music has reached a lot of different people, how many tour dates do you actually have on your tour date?
Man, this is like a little pop quiz. Let me tell you real quick. So I'm coming. I'll just rattle off the places that I'm coming because it's not a huge amount of dates in the US. So going Houston, Dallas, Kansas City, Minneapolis, Chicago, Columbus, popping over to Canada for Toronto, and then New York, Washington, DC, Philadelphia, Boston, LA, and San Francisco.
Dang, busy
So
man.
yeah, we're not coming too much to the south other than Texas, but it's my first tour, so I'm hoping to just like catch a vibe
Oh
and then
yeah.
come back and do even more, you know.
And so since it is your first, are there any like major cities that you're like hoping to stop by or like that you're looking forward to on your tour? Maybe Texas?
Yeah. Yeah, well, I we came through, so when I supported last time I did a show in Dallas supporting Tessa Violet and then we did an Austin show. But this will be my first time just ever even being within Houston as well. So I don't know. I find the whole I think when traveling the US on this last tour because we went everywhere, I think just the concept of getting an idea of like the whole country because before I'd only really spent time in like SoCal, which is like a very specific vibe and doesn't really represent like most of whatever else is going on. So
Mm.
I always just enjoy seeing a place and seeing the cultures within it. It's kind of like in the UK, you know, it's like if you go to London, that's a very specific idea. Whereas if you went to like the West Country, like Cornwall or Devon, or you went up to Scotland, it's going to be a completely different vibe.
Well, I
But
see your hat.
oh
You
yeah,
tourist,
literally.
so you like to be a tourist.
Yeah, it's the name of the game. It is, I
Name.
mean, music is an amazing excuse to travel, and that's always what I've enjoyed about it. It's like it's definitely one of the coolest ways to get around.
Oh yeah, because you're doing what you love, but then you're getting to see a bunch of different places. That sounds like a dream.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think you know, although I'm identifying as a tourist with my hat, I think being a musician kind of helps you subvert that a little bit. So you can go to a place and you have a purpose to be there. So you're not just you're kind of working, but it's a very fun bit of work to do, you know what I mean? It's like a and it's like hyper social. People wanna if you wanted to go out after a show, like someone from the gig is gonna wanna show you what's
Mm.
up and take you to the best pizza spot or something.
Well, don't work too hard. The hope is that you'll have a chance to, have some free time, be able to explore the city and stuff.
Yeah, I hope
Try
so.
not to work too hard. But I did want to ask, so for this album or just in general, do you have any artists that like actually inspire you?
Yeah, so I remember when the song kind of came together in chunks, but I remember one of the big inspos for it is I was listening to like some really early Elvis records and some like Chet Baker
Okay.
vocal stuff. And definitely like the Chet Baker stuff had a big impact on it because I think it was just these kind of old school like 50s records and stuff where they would write about romance in quite a sincere way that is quite jarring to hear now. You know how like most of the time if you're hearing about love or romance or whatever, it's from a modern perspective in music, it's quite afraid of being like earnest and it's usually focused on like breakups or like more basically like less classical feelings of like romance or whatever. And I wanted to take the like musicality and like the delivery of someone like Chet Baker and like the sentimentality of it and then try and do it in like an honest modern way. So that sounds pretty convoluted, but in my head it made sense.
Nah,
I was
you
like,
wanted it to be more romantic instead of just being a, excuse me, language, like a hit it and quit it kind of song.
yeah, well it was just like a type of just like a type of writing that I hadn't heard too much. And it's like, it's not that I wanted to forego, like, because modern music is often more honest than the retro stuff. Like
Mhm.
retro stuff, they would have tried to like create a bit more fiction around it.
Yeah,
So I
create a
wanted to
story.
find, yeah, exactly. So I wanted to find like a midpoint where it kind of feels like this kind of like very hot on its sleeve, like earnest writing, but then uh do that through a contemporary lens. So I was, yeah, lots of guitar singer songwriter stuff. Like I was listening to like one of my favorite albums, Neil Young, After the Gold Rush. Um, which is funny. You'll probably listen to the record and be like, I don't hear any of this old school stuff in it. But like these were just the inspiration points for
No,
me.
and you know what's funny is I was actually just about to say, I'm glad you had brought that up because I was reading on you, and it was saying how you for this album that you know, the influences were like the Nintendo games and like 80s
Sure, yeah,
disco
yeah.
and stuff like that. And so I actually like when I listen to your stuff, it takes me back. Like it reminds me of like a like I would say 80s or even like 70s. Like it's very
Mm.
airy and like upbeat. And I think that's why a lot of reason why I had gone viral on TikTok because it's like a really airy and upbeat, you know, like vibe. And
Yeah, totally.
yeah.
I mean, yeah, I could totally sit and talk about the I feel like you have to always have at least like 10 creative references to try and create something original. I feel like that's my MO like most of the time is trying to create like such a broad like mash of concepts or inspirations in my head that hopefully you come out with something that, if nothing else, sounds like my take on things. So like for the with the music videos on this album, it's funny you say that it's like, you know, you're listing like a couple, you know, we're talking like 4 different decades of inspiration here, which is basically like a mishmash of 20th century like pop culture, which is what I wanted all of the videos to feel like. So like the styling of what we're wearing is kind of like late 90s 2000s, and then it's referencing an 80s movie, and then the jazz chords are like something off a
Mhm.
Chet Baker song, and then the instruments are something off like a
Like
2000s
in the
Nintendo or
like
something.
in your Little Miss music video and you're holding up the beatbox and
Yeah, it's from Say
or
Anything,
the
right?
boombox. Oh my gosh,
Yeah.
beatbox. The boombox. We're showing my age. The boombox. So yeah, I thought that's what. Yeah, I'm like you. I like your vibe. Like you give out a good like. It's just like a carefree and like really just. I don't know. It reminded me not of 80s. I would say more of like the 70s or like the 60s. It was like kind of like Beatles a little bit is what I was like hearing with the melodies and stuff. Like it was good. It was a good listen.
Yeah, well, I'm English, so there's only like so far you can run from like subconsciously being inspired by Beatles songwriting or whatever. So, but that's all good stuff. I'll take that. Thank you very much.
Yeah, definitely. And okay, so what song on this album like speaks to you the most?
Hmm. I'd say there's a track uh near the end of the record called The Feels, which I feel like for me lyrically it was just like a like I was just nerding like nerding out over how it came together. But it just like really succinctly, I don't think there's any, you know, sometimes when you listen to a song and the lyrics are fairly abstract or something, which can be nice. You kind of paint your own picture, or you're like, man, I have no idea what that song was about other than the chorus. I feel like this one tells like a really specifically knitted story. So there's like a lot of lyrics in it about this like closure of seeing someone that you split up with from years ago, and then like not like rekindling anything, just basically having the conversation that was never had
Mhm.
um at the end. And then it just kind of tells that story quite succinctly. And it's inspired by one of my favorite movies, this film called Blue Jay, which is great. It's like a Netflix original like indie movie from like a few years back. But it's incredible. It's about that like closure conversation of like basically revisiting a conversation that should have happened, but you were both too like young and naive to be able to have it. So that's the vibe.
So it's really like you're literally telling a story throughout the entire album because you put that as your last one. That's like the closure, and then you got Little Miss where it's like the love story and stuff, and then everything in between. So I like
Yeah,
that.
I mean it's not necessarily chronological, but it's just kind of all these kind of different perspectives of like there's a track called Bop, which is like written from more a teenage perspective, where I had like no concept of like what a loving like relationship would be like, and it's kind of just like this too cool for school kind of like quite juvenile approach to fancying someone. But yeah, no, it's cool. I'm really proud of it as a body of work. It feels like the most flowy of all my things and still explores a lot.
Cool.
Speaking of the old school vibe, Will, I just noticed that you have a picture of Elvis on your wall,
Oh yeah.
kind of behind you.
Yeah.
Did that on purpose, just because you like Elvis so much?
It's actually like it's become like somewhat of a like an artifact of my musical journey. It was basically when I was recording, this is way back when I was like 16, and I was recording my first EP uh, at this producer Hugh Worskit's apartment in East London, and yeah, we were just working out of his apartment, and then on our second day of working together, this was lent like it's a mirror with like a mirror with Elvis embossed onto it, and it was left just like lent up against his front door when we came back from the shop, and then we left it there for a few days, assuming someone was gonna pick it up, and then it was there for like the whole week, and we were just like, well, no one's coming back for this thing, like it's just been left out, and then we hung it up on the wall that day, and then it kind of followed us through the process of that EP. Then we took it to the studio with us when we did the album, and then it's been in my room where I write. Like when we finished the album, he gave it to me as like a gift. He was like, "You should have this." Like I used to draw on it like every day and give him like different facial hair and
That's
hairstyles
cute.
and stuff.
So
So
it's
it's
like
just
a
been
good luck
around.
charm.
Yeah, literally, and it says King of Rock and Roll on it, so it's like good inspiration, you know.
Nice, nice. What do you hope that fans take away from your music?
I would say that they just get some kind of catharsis out of it, some kind of relief, maybe feeling a little bit more understood from it. I mean, that's kind of my goal with writing, is to like contextualize all of these experiences or feelings and make them into something a bit more like eternal. But I basically see like writing a song as like if I can take a snapshot, if I can find like the most heightened version of an experience or an emotion, press pause on it, and then like paint it while it's there. That's what the song feels like. It's trying to take a snapshot of those things. So if it's a really joyous, if it's a joyous song, then it's trying to capture that moment. And if it's a sad song, it's trying to capture maybe the moment of like overcoming it or something. So I think I'm over explaining. I want people to feel good
Oh,
when they leave.
nice.
Just to feel like human and nice, you know, that's the
No,
vibe.
you gotta explain it the way you want it explained. So yeah.
Yeah, sometimes I just catch myself and I'm like, I'm waffling here.
All right. Well, just to start wrapping it up, I just have two questions to ask. One of them's a really fun question. If you could be a dog, what breed would you be?
I'm okay. I'm just gonna go with my dog's breed because I think he's the best. So I'm gonna go with Whippet. Do you have Whippets in the US? Is that a
I've
thing?
heard of them, but I don't think no. I don't think we don't have many of them.
Yeah, they're like miniature greyhounds. So they look like
Oh,
Santa's little helper from The Simpsons, but small.
Yeah, you'll
so
see
he
one
likes to
every
run
once in a
around.
while at the park or something. Not a
Yeah,
lot.
yeah. They're cute. They're good dogs. They're very sweet.
Okay, okay. And what was the last concert you seen?
The last concert I went to, I, it would have just been, it was my friend's band, Palace Watson, but I'm trying to think of like what, that was like a very like small DIY gig. Um, what would it have been? Oh no, it was uh Rosie Rosie Plain, I believe. I went with my dad. I might be mispronouncing her name, but she was very good. And I think she is touring with Paramore in the UK, which is kind of insane.
Oh,
But it's like a very cool, yeah, I think Rosie or Rosie Plain. But it's very cool. It's like very kind of artsy, almost like Bon Iver type ambient singer-songwriter stuff. It's cool.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I know what you're talking about.
But
Right.
yeah, I
Well,
went with my dad. My dad is like a big gig guy. So we often go to stuff together.
is he a big music fan?
Yeah, totally. It's like kind of what got me into it was like we would go kind of every fortnight to a gig when I was growing up. So
Oh,
yeah, no, it's sweet. It's good.
yeah, it's like a family affair.
Exactly.
Nice, nice. All right. Well, thank you, Will, for talking to us and the UTA audience and taking the time out. You do have a concert or show. Sorry, you have a show April 4th at the Echo Lounge and Music Hall in Dallas, Texas, and you also have a couple of tour dates around our country, North America. You got 12. So if y'all are in the area, make sure you guys check it out. And it was nice talking to you, Will.
Yeah, come through. Come through. I'd love to meet you guys. But yeah, peace and love. Thanks for having me on.